Listen!
Next up, the Museum of Techno is going to experiment with an audio-only podcast affair.
The trailer for our forthcoming radio show on Resonance FM.
104.4 FM.
ResonanceFM.com. Broadcasting to London and via the web to the whole of planet Earth.
Oh, and it's going out on the 29th of May, at about 9 o'clock. Or 8 o'clock.
Because of course I'm in hip-hop's. Hip-hop's success has led to collaborations between hip-hop artists and musicians working in other genres, hasn't it? I mean, that's been very interesting to watch over the years.
There was that famous Run DMC versus Aerosmith hookup sometime in the mid-80s. Walk This Way.
Walk This Way. You got your hip-hop, then you've got your sort of rock going on.
Well, your two biggest forms of music
were
on in the States. What would you get if it was over here?
Well, it's quite difficult, because a lot of British popular music is very influenced by American music, so it's difficult to say.
It might have to be tradish, folk music and hip-hop sort of coming together in a synergization. Maybe we've just happened upon the next new movement in hip-hop. Folk pop. So it could be folk hop.
Or hip folk.
Or hip folk.
But that's a little bit like, I mean, that's rather like, well, the disastrous 1960s. People referring to people who are hip. Or even worse, it's hip replacement folk. So it might be a category of inpatients at the hospital, the hip folk.
Or the old folk.
Yeah, that's right. Or by generalisation, just old people in general. And so if you were inventing a genre of music, I think, for the youth market, you wouldn't want to choose hip folk, would you? For its connotations of old age, senility, and lack of mobility as well. That's not going to go down very well with a breakdancing crowd, is it?
No, it's hardly going to hit a spot when some 80-year-old woman, God bless her, ventures onto the dance floor, casts aside the Zimmer, and I was going to say body pops then, but it's actually probably quite a accurate description of what would probably happen.
So the calcium deposits in a joint, sort of crunching, is that?
Yeah, there's that, and the old, the whole popping out of your standard ball socket joint. Try and do that electric thing, where it goes from one end to the other. Next thing you know, your arms on the floor, flapping about.
In reality, I think what would happen is as soon as the Zimmer frame went to the wall, I think she'd probably just sort of crumple to the ground like a leaf. Almost as if she was about to do the caterpillar, but sort of only went halfway through the cycle of the movement.
Just actually falling on the floor then.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Kind of went for it, but kind of knocked yourself out in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, fair enough. They're old, these types.
They are.
These old folk, hip replacement folk, hip pop folk, popping shoulder folk, hip popping shoulder folk, pop.
Baseline.